Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. Alongside me tonight, I have RDV and Professor Pigsoul as we discuss the 2021 small independent film starring Nick Cage in it called simply Pig. Gentlemen, when I first saw the trailer, I thought yet another Nick Cage movie where I feel some people just say, you know what? There's this weird dude that'll do anything for a paycheck and it'll make it kind of bizarre. And so we'll just make a movie about an expatriated chef that, has kind of hit the skids, and there'll be an underground fighting chef's ring and all sorts of weird stuff. Um, and we'll get Nick Cage to do it and it'll be awesome. Um, Unlike Wally's Wonder World, which we'll probably cover at some point, which I did not like, it's a typical Nick Cage performance in that it's bizarre, it's strange. However, I will say this. I thought the movie was done well. I thought it was mildly interesting, somewhat entertaining, but just typical Nick Cage fare. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be. So this movie, I think, is pretty divisive because people are like, what? A pig? And I liked what they tried doing in this film with pointing out like some class status type things and jealousy and other things. I thought that's where the movie really shined. To me, the movie really had nothing to do about the pig or the truffles, mushrooms
No.
to the layperson or whatever. But I it's interesting. If you're a Nick Cage fan, it's definitely higher up than some of his other C-class fare that we've may have talked about on here on the Extreme Movie Show. But let's go around the horn for our initial impressions. And RDV, let's go with you first because I have no idea whether this is a movie you would like or not.
Well, if you go into this movie thinking it's going to be a revenge movie, you're going to be getting revenge of the person who sold you a ticket because
Agreed.
this was slow, very slow. It was just I think it was a sentimental movie about a guy grieving over his wife who died and spent in the woods for like 15 years living like a bum with no showers. So he bathes, I guess, with the river. I guess he's in like Seattle or just outside of Seattle in Washington. So I'm thinking like, it's I don't know. It's there are parts that I did like, and there's parts that you brought up the whole underground fight thing. Those even chefs. That was just underground fighting and nothing to do with the whole entire movie.
No, other than to find information. I was like, oh, the one guy had look like he had a chef's outfit on, right? And he's it's like the slap thing where you stand there now. That's kind of like the hot thing. So because men today can't arm wrestle, they have to just slap each other and take it. They do this thing where he gets punched for like a minute so he can prove his manhood or whatever, get some information. And everybody's betting, and I'm like, that didn't look like money to me. And I go, this would be badass if they were trading recipes for currency, right?
It didn't make sense because he wants the information, so you have to say that if you want my information, you have to get beat up for a minute. That's
it's stupid.
Nicolas Cage selling out badass US should whenever just beat the crap out of the guy. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it just felt like a summary of his career for the past 10 years. You know, he's been taking any movie he can just to make a paycheck. But the ending was okay, but I expected something else. I expected him, like I said, I thought it was going to be a revenge movie. Like, oh, this guy stole his pig. You know, I thought he was going to, like, poison him. No. Instead, he got him in the fields. Like I said, this movie, I actually agree with Roger Ebert for a change. This was basically a student movie, you know, that they somehow got Nicolas Cage to come in here and do the role as the main lead. And it's very slow. There are parts of the movie that were just completely boring. I was bored to tears. Other parts were better. There was a part where he was creepy walking up to the kid where he used to live.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, hi, my name's Rob. I'm thinking like, no, Rob, don't go by kids. Where's the adult? Why isn't the adult calling, hey, cops, we got a pedophile in our case? It didn't make sense why he would do that. And like, at that point, if he's strung out on drugs, then I understand he doesn't care. But this guy, he's sober. You know, he's had time to grieve, you know, but it just didn't. I guess he's trying to reconnect to the life he gave up. You know, he's been gone and living in the woods for 15 years, apparently. Mm-hmm. Like, he's still civilized a little bit, but man, I just felt like we're getting the Big Lebowski here.
I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'll turn it over to Professor Pixel, give us his initial thoughts, and choose if he wants to answer this question as well. Based on what you described, let me ask you, did you feel at some point during the film, with how much of a bum he was, that you start going, you know, I feel bad that his pig got jacked, but he is kind of a bum. And even though there might be a lot of bums and anarchy going on in Portland right now, didn't you kind of almost feel like the rest of the field was kind of right? Like even though he's supposed to be the good guy, you almost can understand why everybody went and did what they did.
Because when you find out the reason why he's picked on Stone, I thought that was even pretty kind of weak. It's like it's I guess it's just if you with the whole movie, or I don't want to really give the whole plot, but you get it kind of preaches to you, tells you like you shouldn't care about all the fakeness in the world. Stick what's true, what you have, love, keep holding on to it as long as it's there.
Don't
But
invent the gastropub of doom that serves reconstructed scabs over a bed
oh,
of raw sea foam induced in induced in a
steam.
smoke-filled. I mean, I love food. I'm a big foodie, but that
You
gets
do
extremely
you
pretentious.
do you know what they remind me of? That when I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is basically like watching Demolition Man, where they serve the pills. It's like,
All right, Pig. So what about you?
Where's my pig? No. I actually really liked this movie far more than I expected to. I thought it was going to be. I didn't think I was going to lose either way because I love Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is great, but when I expected that this would be one of those cases where, wow, this movie's so ridiculous and so bad that it's good, but it's not bad. That's the thing that sticks with me because it's really about connecting to things that are important to you in your life, and the effort he goes to for his pig. It's not a revenge movie because, well, for what that could be kind of ridiculous.
that would have been awesome. Where's my
But
pig?
that's so bad.
Give me
It's
back my
good.
pig.
This is just good because he's trying to appeal through connections. He was he was a world-renowned chef, but he gave it up after his wife died, and so his only connection was that pig. That's what it was. That's all he had because he went away from everything. He became a shell of himself and lived for the one thing. Okay, we're going to go get stuff we need, cook a little, and that's all his life was. But then when his pig is taken, he's forced to go back out into the world, and he makes kind of new connections all around, reigniting old ones. And it's really good. I hate to say it's deep, but it is deep in that respect.
It's knee deep. I'll say that much.
Well, here's the thing too. There's I think a lot of themes actually going on in the movie. Grief I think is the obvious one there too, but there's also I think a strong sense of guilt too. He's been doing this for 15 years where he's just been a bum on his own, and even though prepping is in fashion right now, it's one of those things where it's supposed to make us uncomfortable. But at the same time, due to a major loss of what his current life is, this pig, it does force him to get out there. He pays a heavy price only to, realize that, okay, there is another world out there I can't keep ignoring. I am an adult. And I have to at some point get out there. So I kind of liked it because he was in a state of arrested development for, was it 15 years? And then he meets like people that he's had known before in his professional life along the path. And yeah, we're trying to be a little spoiler free about it, but I really did like and appreciate the fact that, and you guys kind of both touched on it, that he's trying to, instead of revenge, he's trying to do it the positive way. And that sounds so hokey and it sounds so sucky, but that's where Nick Cage dials in his ability to kind of seem a little empathic and tender, or whatever you want to call it, not over the top bizarre like say in Mandy or something that we love, because that's a great film, a revenge film if you will. To me, I just felt like this movie lacked one thing, and that's the food. And I know we saw the chapter 1 and the chapter 2s and all that saying something about food, and that was kind of neat. I really, really appreciated how the opening of the film, we see where he's at, but more importantly, him with the pig, because that's what it's about, allegedly, and he's making a dish. Because you know what? He's an expert in his field. He's a craftsman. Even if we don't like what the craft is, could give two rats ass about it. As men, I think we all appreciate a true craftsman on display, doing what they do and sacrificing their lives for it, and that it means something. So I felt the whole passionate nature of what he was going through helps by having that opening scene. I only wish there was one or two little more things like in there of him doing that. I mean, and that's only because I like food so much, and food is like nature. It's one of those things when you put it in high def and you put it on the big screen or television, it just looks awesome, even if it's something as disgusting as mushrooms. Because that's personally the only food that I despise. I'm a big time foodie. We were talking about the softline RDV, but I'll say this: there is a nice little food thing for the Act 3, and I'll just leave it at that there too. So yes, it's definitely not a revenge film, and you're so right, RDV, when you said if anybody thought this was Nick Cage going to go kick some ass and slit some throats because they took his pig, and some redneck ruffians took him and fried him up in some bacon grease, and all that. No,
because you get the sense from the trailer he gets beat up and then he goes to look for it. So I'm thinking like, oh, it's just gonna be a revenge thing. It's like, and it's totally not what it's sold as.
No, certainly not.
I would have loved it for in the style of Mandy, or him just taking down people and just like, here's your son on a plate. It's like,
this is where you and I completely disagree, because I liked its approach. I liked how serious it was about something that is ridiculous. And I'm glad it wasn't just a revenge flick, because we had Wrath of Man for that. I can take a break from that.
Are you saying that this guy's pig's like that guy's son that got killed? How dare you? That's mean, bro.
That's not what I was saying. I was saying that I was saying that this is it's a story about connection. Now,
a man and his pig living in the woods.
That was his connection. It's how he got over
his wife.
Yeah.
I don't say this though. The guy is like, you're not like doing anything with the pig, are you? He's like, no, I'm not fucking the pig. It's like,
I'm not fucking my pig.
No, it sounds like it's a funny, but the movie does take itself seriously, don't you think?
It does. Throughout the whole thing, yeah. It's like there's not really much comedy. I don't think there's any comedy in this. There's situational comedy when he gets his butt kicked, and like I'm just thinking like that was like this is so absurd, like because they have in Seattle they have to like, oh, there is an underground. We already know that. Watch Kolchak.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, you can listen to Kolchak here on the Xtreme Movie Show, all 16, 17, 21 episodes, whatever it was, plus the 2 TV movies, and on our new Facebook page, Xtreme Movie Show. Join that if you haven't.
Yeah. Like I said, like this, I like his better stuff, where he's more like he has to use his brain, he has to run around. Like I believe it was Stolen was one of them. Where his daughter gets kidnapped. I love the suspense, the action, thriller stuff. Mandy, I love it because it's kind of the same thing, but it's more out there. It's just full on him, just like Nicolas Cage, like going crazy, Nicolas Cage, and it always become a meme, where he's him, Nicolas Cage, where you see him, he's crazy. I say go with it, man. If they're making memes out of you like that, that's what everybody wants. Because like I said, I agree. This is cool and stuff, and but it was just so many boring parts in this movie where it just moves slow.
Well, that's your typical taste, and so that's why we have usually these interesting panel discussions, because all three of us are slightly different. But you and I, RDV, do cover typically on Tuesday nights, usually an 80s type film or an action film, or when we're really popping an 80s action film. Let me ask you this, just as a quick supposition. We don't have to dive too deep in here, but we're getting all the rave out there about John Wick and how we love Keanu and Keanu overdose and all this kind of stuff and all that too. Nick Cage has been doing this just as long as John Wick, or Keanu, I should say. Really, I mean, going back to the early '80s. Okay, what if you had put Nick Cage in the role of John Wick?
He would have done it like 10 years ago, probably, because he's a little younger. Like I said, he's done movies like Face Off. He's done like Snake Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
He's done the role. Yeah. He's done Nicolas Cage, and people joke it's like, oh, he can't be an action star. And it's not. Sometimes it's not the who is in the role. It's as far as what the script is. We love the '80s movies. We love Commando. Those were hokey, but we love them because they're over the top. Missing in Action, over the top. This over the top movie with Stallone. I love '80s action films because it was all about having a good time. It's cool you want to preach some stuff sometimes, but this really felt like this an independent film. It didn't really feel like a blockbuster. But people are saying, "Oh, it's the best movie of 2021."
Yeah,
I don't understand how.
Point,
yeah,
I was going to say, using your point you just described there, I want to ask Pixel about it because this is what he likes actually with it. Now, Pixel, this is a preachy movie, and I don't think it's in any way hidden. And I don't like a movie that preaches to me. If you have a message, and I understand what the message is, and you just leave the message there, and I can figure out either at the end or through the whole movie, or at the beginning of the movie, I'm presented with this message and I see how it plays out, that's cool. But this movie, it did feel like from scene to scene, because of him reaching out, even though it was in a positive way, that the story was really, of course, preaching what you have to do. And in that way, I can see where somebody would be turned off by it. But while you like the positive part of it, does the preachiness get to you at all?
No, because I'm not against good messaging. The thing that really gets me is stance of preaching for a purely political standpoint, and there's nothing political about this movie. It's
yeah, I agree. Nothing political.
I would say it does have a little bit of anti big corporation, big fake message in here. Is him said he said is that none of this matters. The whole restaurant he said you wanted to open a pub, except you're here doing this crap. These people don't matter. Why are you doing this? Go do what you want to. He's like,
because that's
your message.
Thing. That's not a corporation thing. That's what's successful.
That's Seattle.
Successful there, but he needs to find himself because he's fake, and that's what Nicolas Cage points out to him.
Yeah,
you're not real. You're not real.
Yeah, no,
everything about this, none of this is real.
Yeah, that's your political message right there. He's saying because
it's not political, and exactly what I mean.
Hold on, let me talk. Everybody knows that Seattle is a huge liberal thing over there. The whole mindset, everything. So you have to act a certain way and all stuff. That's what he says. It's fake. If you get out of this, you go anywhere else, you probably could open up your dream restaurant. The fact that the guy chose to stay in Seattle and just sell it, just give up his dreams. Yeah, he sold out. That's where your political message is. He's saying, why the heck are you still here? You could have went anywhere else, done this, screw these people.
Well, let me chime in here because I think this was actually one of the best scenes of the movie, and it's the scene I kind of referenced earlier about where they go and they're having the deconstructed scallops in a roll infused. I can't even say with a straight face.
It looked like it's something out of Aliens or some alien planet.
Scallops. Presentation's a big deal, but presentation's overrated, right? Where you go, the food's got to look good before you can eat it. That's bullshit. That's also being full of yourself. But here's the thing, Pixel, because this is where I went, wow, this is preachy. The guy goes, hey, I don't know if you remember, but I used to work for one of your restaurants. And he goes, yeah, you worked for me for 2 months. You're a prep cook. I fired you because you kept overcooking the pasta, right? Yep. And he says it, just a matter of fact, I'm like, wow, to remember one of your nobody employees from 15 years ago says a lot about what you care about, which is people. I agree with you. But yet he feels it's his need. Here's a guy that hasn't done crap literally for 15 years. Preaching to a young person that says, you know what, I chose to do this high-end type of thing because let's face it, you can churn out 100 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but if you're making 1 cent on each, you're not going to be making a living. If you can serve 2 friggin' scallops and charge $50 for it, you can turn a profitable restaurant. But the thing is you got to work on that image, and that's always the corporate side to it that people want to say is evil and all that. And I thought to myself, yeah, he's banging on this guy, and he is calling the guy out for saying, hey, look, you're really passionate about opening up a pub and you're not doing it. What the hell's wrong with you? And I get that he's right saying it. But at the same time, it's like
he's living in the woods.
Exactly. Who
That's
the hell
what
is
he wants to
here
do, though. That's the thing. Nicolas Cage is doing what he wants to do. He wanted to cut himself off. He lived with his pig. And that's all there was. He didn't even need the pig to find truffles. It was a truffle pig, and he could find truffles on his own. His connection was that pig. That's all he had. That was his pet. That's all that's all he cared about.
And I'll say this movie would have made more sense if we would have just called it about a dog. People care more about dogs than pigs. It would have done much better. Look at John Wick, all about a dog.
Well, here's where I was let down, and this is kind of some of my final thoughts a little bit. When I heard Nick Cage is going to be like this top level chef with the pig, and whatever happens, okay, I honestly expected to see him at some point from where he started, really, really, really cleaning up his act and all that too. Like Pixel, and I'm gonna throw this back at you because while I agree with you, I'm dinging you here a little bit. You talk about the messaging of the movie and how it's appropriate. What position is in the position he's in, whether you agree with it or not, for him to be preachy there to that underling that served him that high-end meal, is the fact that it had a lot more power behind it if, one, it shaved, two, he had bathed, three, he'd cleaned it up his act there a little bit, and I wanted to see him go from being nobody out in the woods to have his pig taken away, paying the price for it, to slowly getting to where he became himself again, or a better version of the self he wanted to be. And I don't know if we got that at the end. What's your take?
I think that I think that from where he's going on, like I said, he's been doing what he wants to do for the past 15 years. This is his choice. And so him cleaning up bathing, I don't see where that would add to his point of, you should have done what you wanted to do. You had a goal. You were passionate about something. Now you were just living through this. That's all it is.
I don't discount the validity of the argument you're suggesting he has in here. What I'm talking about is the delivery of that argument doesn't have as much power because the fact that he's been a bum for 15 years. What have you done for me lately? Sincerely, Janet Jackson, Miss Nasty, if you will, to go back to the 80s.
He doesn't have to do anything lately. He's been doing what he wants to do. That's his example. That's why he left.
So he's a hippie.
Okay. I don't.
And I'll ask a question. Is he paying taxes? He's living in the woods. Is that even a residence, or is it he just built a shack in the woods?
Well, I don't know. He's getting paid for his truffles. So
yeah, but obviously he has to get food somehow. I don't think he's like getting takeout from this guy. Is this guy just giving him food? Ubers? It's like, hey.
No,
it's a food commune. What's the word that's been thrown around for a couple of years now?
It's
food sensitivity, or I don't know.
I love the overall
food. Come on.
I'll say I love the overall message, but you think he's going to talk about people. Someone would have called the cops in Seattle. You can't walk around just like that. Someone would have called the cops on you. You would have been arrested for loitering. You would have been arrested for going near the kid. He would have been arrested just for looking like he just got in a fight. They throw him in the drunk tank. So there are flaws in the movie, but overall, I do like the message.
Yeah, it's a positive movie. I think we can all agree on that, whether we liked it or not, because it is definitely a deliberate movie, slow, maybe for some people, and not an action film at all, or a revenge film. And the messaging of the trailer, definitely, you're right, RDV is not consistent with what you get.
Instead of calling it Pig, they should have called it Man in the Woods.
Pig was perfect. All right, Pixel, you have any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I really enjoyed the movie overall, far more than I expected to, for reasons that I did not expect, and I'm glad it was. I'm glad it was what it was, and I'm just happy with it.
Yeah, you can definitely do worse. It's not a bad film, and if you're a Nick Cage fan, it's definitely worth watching. RDV, any final thoughts?
I should have named the pig Oscar. No, Oscar Mayer.
All right, guys. That's definitely not
final thoughts. I'll just say this overall, without giving away too much of the movie. We did some spoilers, but I'll just say this: it's just a slow movie. If you can get through it, you'll enjoy the message towards the end.
Yeah, I agree.
Or you can read the Wikipedia and get the whole message without having to sit through it.
People know that already. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking us out, guys. Obviously, with Halloween season coming up, we're going to be producing a bit more of items out there, too. We have some older ones from last year, too. We've got some older 80s things. Night School with Rachel Ward, slasher flick from that. We did one called Impulse with William Shatner, where he plays a gigolo. I'm not joking. It's extreme. You
I
gotta
know.
check
I
this
know.
out.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. That was an art house film. We've of course got American
Wow.
Werewolf in London out there too.
Hey, little
Check it
girl.
out, and if there's any Halloween type films you want us to cover, let us know so we can get that scheduled in. So we'd love to do a little extra work during one of the best times of the year for movies, Halloween season. For RDV, Professor Pixel, and everybody involved here at the Extreme Movie Show, thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good night, and as always, stay extreme. Extreme. Squeal like a pig. Extreme.
Where's my pig?
This little piggy